Discover the incredible truth. Arrogant employee exposed after kicking her billionaire boss's high. Jenna poured coffee into her regulars' cups, the aromatic steam mixing with the sizzling of bacon. It was just another evening at Millie's diner, where the chatter of the small-town crowd buzzed like the old neon sign outside. Yet, that day, something heavier than the usual dinner settled in Jenna's heart. Across the room, her best friend Claire sat, a veritable queen now, ensconced in her high-rise corporate glow. As Claire laughed loudly at her phone, Jenna felt an unfurling sadness wrapped in disdain. The glittering metropolis was a reminder of all the riches that were out of reach. Moments earlier, Lucy, Jenna's spirited 15-year-old daughter, had helped bus tables. "Mom, can we get out of here someday?" she had asked, real hope flickering in her bright eyes. Jenna's heart clenched. She wanted more for her daughter than to see her waitress uniform as a badge of pride. She wanted Lucy to dream big and find purpose beyond the diner. As Jenna looked back at her best friend, all she could think was how success had changed Claire. She barely recognized the woman who used to share dreams over cheap coffee and fries. The air tense during the local charity event that night. When Claire and Jenna finally found each other in the crowd, Jenna couldn't hold back. "Claire, have you forgotten us? We used to believe in something," she implored, desperation tightening her voice. But Claire's laughter rang hollow, and the dismissal in her eyes stung more than Jenna anticipated. The next instant, when Claire shoved her, an act fueled by condescension, gasps filled the room, choking the air. Just as quickly, Claire's powerful boss, a billionaire named Marcus, spotted the commotion, and confusion settled like fog over their friendship. The severing of their bond reverberated in Jenna's heart deeper than any wound. Claire's voice turned icy, and whispers spiraled through the crowd. "She needs to be put in her place," someone murmured as another echoed, "Total disgrace." In that instant, Marcus made a decisive move. With an unflinching expression, he dismissed Claire from her coveted position, her blue silk dress contrasting sharply with the stain of her public humiliation. The shockwave pulsed through the diner later that night, reaching the heart of their town, but all Jenna could feel was the ache of lost friendship. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The aftermath carved a fissure between Jenna and the glittering world Claire inhabited. Yet, in the depths of her anguish, a fire sparked within. With encouragement from Lucy, she began organizing the townspeople. Together, she urged, "We can show the world our worth." Word spread, and soon they held rallies. A stranger's story echoed Jenna's. He lost everything due to corporate greed, proving they weren't alone. Together they stood for worth beyond flashing lights. As whispers of their and Jenna's past erupted, an old secret surfaced. Her husband was a veteran, once a confidant of Marcus. Hope surged. They might have a foothold. The community rallied, lending voices, igniting a movement for recognition and respect. Tension thickened as they geared up for a showdown against the skies of prosperity, leaving Jenna standing at the brink of something greater. Could she transform heartache into empowerment, or would the shadows of their unequal past loom too large to overcome? The heart of Millie's diner thudded with the pulse of change, but as Jenna prepared to face her biggest confrontation yet, doubt lingered like a whisper. Jenna's heart raced as she watched the crowd gather outside the diner for the rally. The warm glow of the streetlights flickered against the cool evening air, mingling with the murmurs of anticipation. Lucy stood at her side, radiating excitement as she held a brightly colored sign, its bold letters declaring, "We deserve better." The din of voices swelled, creating a wave of collective energy. It was a stark contrast to the loneliness she had felt just days before. Jenna took a deep breath, trying to steady the flurry of emotions swirling inside her. This was not just a fight for change, it was a chance to reclaim their dignity. As the townsfolk joined in, Faces turned toward her. Jenna felt a mix of gratitude and trepidation. Reminiscing about simpler times only deepened her resolve. She never set out to be a leader, but here she was, rallying her community around a cause that felt so deeply personal, yet so far beyond her own family's struggles. "Are we ready to take a stand?" Jenna shouted, her voice slicing through the murmurs and causing a ripple of energy to sweep through the crowd. They responded with a resounding cheer that sent warmth through her veins. She felt invigorated, shouting out their stories: a single mother juggling multiple jobs, an elderly man struggling to keep his shop afloat, and families torn apart by the pressures of an uneven economy. But not everyone was on board. Standing off to the side, a few familiar faces wore frowns. Those who still looked up to Claire had formed a small counter-group, casting looks of disbelief. Jenna felt their judgment like a cold gust, but she pressed on. It was time to remind everyone, starting with Claire's admirers, of what really mattered. "Look at us," Jenna began again, passion glowing in her eyes. "We are more than our jobs or the places we live. Each one of us has a story that deserves to be heard. It's time we demand what is ours." Cheers erupted again, but the group of skeptics remained. Their silence became a deafening presence, an unspoken challenge that made Jenna's heart flutter. Were these people still loyal to Claire? Or had they simply been too afraid to break free from her grasp? As they began march, Jenna caught sight of Marcus watching from a distance. His expression was unreadable, but there was something about it that sent shivers down her spine. Was he here to intimidate, or perhaps to listen? Her mind raced with the possibilities, but she couldn't let anything hold her back now. A few blocks later, Jenna and her supporters arrived at the park where their rally was set to unfold. She could see Claire among the crowd, tightly clutching her phone, her face flushed with anger or embarrassment. It was hard to tell. Jenna's heart clenched at the sight. A part of her wanted to reach out, to mend what had been torn, but the other half knew that this was no longer just about friendships. It was about standing up for their community. "Together, we can build a future where we lift each other up instead of tearing each other down," Jenna proclaimed. The group roared in agreement, many raised their signs high, unity pulsing through the crowd. But deep inside, Jenna felt the unresolved tension with Claire growing heavier, her best friend now both a rival and a ghost of better times. What lay ahead for them? Was there still a thread connecting their past to the future they were fighting for? The stakes felt higher than ever. As Jenna prepared to speak again, her voice quaking but determined, she locked eyes with Claire, and she could see the flicker of conflict behind her friend's mask of indignation. Would this be the moment everything changed? Or would it deepen the divide? Only time would tell. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. Suddenly the laughter and cheers of the crowd faded into a muffled echo, the world around her blurring into insignificance. It was just her and Claire, the best of friends turned rivals, locked in a silent battle of wills. She could sense the weight of the moment, the air thick with tension, and a wave of uncertainty washed over her. "Are you with me, Claire?" Jenna challenged, her voice trembling slightly beneath her fierce determination. She had hoped for some flicker of understanding in her friend's eyes, a sign that they could bridge the chasm that had opened between them, but all she found was a steely glare. Claire raised her chin defiantly, her expression a fortress unyielding and proud. "Don't do this, Jenna," Claire finally replied, her tone even, yet laced with unmistakable sorrow. Her words were simple, but they echoed louder than any cheer from the crowd. Jenna swallowed hard. She needed to keep the momentum going, to turn the tide in their favor. "It's time for us to unite," she insisted, her voice rising in pitch, urging others to join her. The cheers from the crowd grew more fervent, but Claire remained unmoved, her arms crossed tightly, each gesture a barrier against the rising wave. Behind Jenna, Lucy tapped her on the shoulder, eyes wide with concern. "Jenna, maybe we should just focus on no." Jenna interrupted, the force of her passion spilling forth. "We can't just ignore what's happening. We have to confront it." Claire stepped forward slightly, the distance between them shrinking just enough to make Jenna's heart race. "You're putting us at risk," she warned, her gaze flicking toward the onlookers still divided, some caught between admiration for Jenna's conviction and loyalty to their former leader. Risk? Jenna felt her pulse quicken. What's the risk of speaking the truth? What's the risk of demanding respect? She looked at the crowd, faces painted with hope and uncertainty. We've been silenced long enough. This is our moment. In that instant, something shifted. The crowd began chanting, "We deserve better! We deserve better!" The rhythm was electric, surging through Jenna like shockwaves. They were leaving behind their silence, and claiming a voice that had long been stifled. But Claire's expression softened, just a little, and Jenna grabbed onto that glimmer of hope. She stepped closer still, her heart thundering in her chest. If we continue to let fear drive us, we'll always be stuck in the shadows. Claire, we can do this together. It doesn't have to be this way. The rally, now charged with emotion, swelled around them. Claire's frown creased into an almost imperceptible wrinkle of uncertainty. For a fleeting moment, Jenna could see the ghost of their past friendship flicker in Claire's eyes. "Jenna, think of the consequences," Claire began, but Jenna could hear the hesitance in her voice. And in that hesitation lay a chance for reconciliation, a chance to redirect their anger into something constructive. Jenna took a breath, steadying herself, feeling the weight of possibility. "We can fight for change without tearing each other apart," she urged. "This isn't just my fight, it's ours. It always has been." Above the chant of the crowd, Jenny realized they were standing at a precipice not just in their community, but in their friendship. It would take courage to leap together. She hoped Claire would take that step with her. As the crowd grew louder, Jenna didn't know whether Claire would choose to join her in this fight or turn away. The decision had never felt more pressing. She locked eyes with her friend, anxiously waiting for a sign. Would it end the division, or would it shatter what remained? The moment hung in the air, thick with possibility and tension. Jenna's heart pounded in her chest, but she knew she had laid everything on the line. Either way, she was ready, and the crowd, united and formidable, was with her. But just as Jenna was about to speak again, a loud crash erupted from the edge of the park, startling everyone. Heads turned. What was happening now? A sense of foreboding gripped her. What new challenge awaited them, and would it threaten everything they had just begun to rebuild? Jenna's heart raced as she turned toward the source of the noise. The sound of splintering crash had come from where a large group of people stood, and the crowd around her suddenly fell silent, their chants dying down. She could feel tension tightening in the air, like a rope pulled too taut. "What's going on?" Lucy whispered near her ear, eyes darting nervously toward the commotion. Jenna tried to squint through the throng of bodies, but it took a moment to see clearly. A young man, disheveled and frantic, was shouting at a group of people who had started to surround him. "Get away from me!" he yelled, a wildness in his eyes that brought a shiver down Jenna's spine. "Did you see what he did?" someone from the crowd gasped. He just threw that chair." Jenna felt a surge of fear wash over her. She had seen anger before, but this was something different. It wasn't just rage, it was desperate and volatile. The young man continued to shout, but now signs of panic flashed across the faces of bystanders. They were starting to pull away, murmurs growing louder, and fear began to ripple through the crowd like a wave. "I have to help him," Jenna exclaimed, instinctively taking a step forward. She wanted to bridge that chasm of chaos, to reach out and quell the storm brewing in the man's eyes. "Wait, Jenna! Don't!" Lucy pleaded, grabbing her arm. "He might be dangerous." Jenna looked back at Claire, whose expression mirrored every feeling that coursed through her. They were just beginning to understand each other again, and now this? Was this what it came down to, a fight for their community, tearing them apart once more? She hesitated, uncertainty flooding her mind. Sometimes the storm is just the beginning of something new, Jenna thought, channeling her rising sense of power. But if I don't act now, we could lose this chance. With a determined breath, she made her way through the crowd, each step fueled by resolve. As she stepped closer, the young man stopped mid-sentence, caught by her presence. The chaotic energy radiated from him, but something in his gaze shifted. Was it recognition? Confusion? Hey, listen, Jenna said, raising her hands gently, trying to establish a connection. I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to understand what is happening. Can you tell me? The man blinked rapidly, tears pooling at the corners of his eyes. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. The crowd held its breath, waiting for the impending explosion or a softening of tension. You don't know, he muttered, his voice cracking under the weight of despair. You don't know what it's like to be thrown away, to feel like you don't belong anywhere. Jenna took a cautious step closer, ignoring Lucy's worried tug at her sleeve. There, in the wreckage of his anger, Jenna saw a reflection of her own frustration and pain. She understood that feeling of being unheard, and a spark of sympathy ignited inside her. I do know, she whispered, her voice steady amidst the chaos. I do know what it feels like to be silenced. But we are stronger together. Let us talk about this. As the tension simmered and the crowd sank into an uncertain silence, Jenna felt a flicker of hope ignite. The young man's defenses began to drop, just slightly, and she sensed a fragile opportunity. But all of a sudden another crash. Something shattered nearby. Jenna turned, and dread surged back into her veins. The fight was starting again, but this time it was different. A figure emerged from the shadows, eyes burning with fury, and Jenna felt the walls around them close in. Would this escalate further? And was it too late to forge the unbreakable bonds they had sought to create? Jenna's heart echoed in her ears. What was lurking in the shadows? Would they be able to unite against the storm brewing on their horizon, or would darkness take hold once more? The figure stepped fully into the dim light, revealing a tall woman with fierce eyes that seemed to blaze like embers. Dressed in stark black, she glared at the young man with a mix of contempt and disdain. The crowd stirred, whispers flaring up like sparks igniting dry brush. What are you doing? She shouted, voice cutting through the air with a harsh edge. You think you can just ruin everything for everyone? Jenna felt her pulse quicken. That woman seemed to embody the storm the rage of the young man had taken root in her, fueling a confrontation that could spiral out of control once more. The tension returned, thick and cloying, as the crowd shifted uneasily, weighing their options. It's okay, Jenna called out, holding her hands in front of her as though to ward off the chaos. We're all just trying to figure this out. No one wants to hurt anyone here. But the woman laughed, a sharp sound that felt more like a threat. Figure it out? Look at him. She pointed aggressively at the young man, her finger jabbing like a knife. He is throwing chairs. Doesn't he have a clue, and you want to listen to him? The young man's face twisted with anger at the accusation, but Jenna could see a flicker of doubt behind his eyes. He hesitated, clearly caught between his rage and an urge to be heard. Jenna felt the energy of the crowd shift. Some leaned in, intrigued, while others looked ready to bolt. Wait, Jenna said, stepping closer to the young man. What's your name? What's got you so worked up? For a moment he just stared at her, that wildness still simmering beneath the surface. Lucas, he finally choked out, and it's not just me. They don't care about us. We're nothing to them. Jenna's heart ached as she listened. She could see it now. Lucas was fighting not just for himself, but for everyone like him, everyone who felt invisible, overlooked. Her chest tightened, and she turned toward the surrounding faces, searching for any sign of understanding. Lucas, she said gently, I hear you. But you're not alone. We've all felt that way at some point. The crowd was shifting again. Was that a nod of recognition? A murmur of agreement? Jenna took a breath, grounding herself in the moment. She could feel the pull of unity amidst the fragments of anguish. But that fierce black-clad woman wasn't ready to back down. Enough of this, she screeched, her voice full of venom. Stop wasting time on this loser. The air thickened with tension. Lucas clenched his fists, his rage flaring back to life. Jenna could sense the situation teetering on a knife's edge, and she needed to act fast before everything shattered again. Lucas, remember why we're here, Jenna urged, her voice rising. This isn't about one person. It's about all of us wanting to be seen. To belong. The crowd held its breath, waiting for the next move. In that split second, everything hung in the balance, every heart beating as one. Jenna reached out to Lucas, hoping to tether him away from the storm raging inside him. I'm not going to let them silence us, she promised, finding strength in their shared frustrations. But could her conviction be enough to break through the wall of anger? The darkness loomed larger, and Jenna could sense it closing in. If Lucas couldn't let go of his anger, if the woman couldn't see beyond her arrogance, everything they fought for might slip away once more. What would happen if they didn't find common ground? Jenna's heart pounded in her throat. Could they stand together, or would the shadows consume whatever light they had left? The crowd shifted again, uncertain but hungry for resolution. Lucas stared at Jenna, his face contorted with emotion. The flicker of doubt that had been there before began to morph into something else, uncertainty mixed with desperation. There was a whirlwind inside him, battling to break free. Jenna could see it. She stepped closer, her gaze steady. "Lucas, listen to me," she said softly, almost pleading with him. "Nobody wins if we keep tearing each other apart. We can be so much more than anger. Let us show them." The fierce woman scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "You think this will change anything? You're a fool to think they care about your little speeches." Her words ignited something inside Jenna. Fear for the community they represented, fear for Lucas, and anger at the woman's dismissal of their struggles. But instead of letting the anger boil over, she used it as fuel for her conviction. "What you don't see," Jenna said, her voice gaining strength, "is that the power lies in us together. They might overlook us, but we can lift each other up. This is our chance." Lucas's shoulders started to relax, though the storm within still raged. "What if it doesn't work?" he muttered, glancing anxiously from Jenna back to the woman in black. "Then we will make them see us," she replied, reaching out and grasping his arm, hoping to connect with him on a deeper level. "But it starts here and now. We can't let fear win. Look around. This," she gestured passionately at the crowd, "is our community. We are not invisible. We matter." The crowd took a collective breath, their eyes widening slightly. A flicker of hope glimmered amongst them, and Jenna felt it ignite the air. The fierce woman shuffled back, looking less certain. "You're naive," she retorted, struggling to maintain her authoritative stance. "You really think this will change anything?" Jenna looked around, her heart racing. "I do. Because this is not just about you, or me, or even Lucas." She lifted her arms wide, inviting the energy of each person present. "This is about all of us fighting for the same air, the same space to exist and to be seen. Don't you want to be part of something bigger than yourself?" For the first time, the woman hesitated, taken aback as she scanned the crowd, conflicted but curious faces catching her attention. Lucas took a breath, stepping closer to Jenna. "I don't want to keep fighting. I just want to be heard," he said, his voice barely above a whisper but heavy with emotion. Jenna glanced at him, recognizing that glimmer of understanding, a garden that might bloom if nurtured correctly. "And we will be heard. Together." As murmurs of agreement started to surge through the crowd, Jenna felt a shift, a pulse of unity building, fragile but undeniable. But before she could bask in the moment, another shout cut through the air. It was a deep voice, rough like gravel. "And what makes you think we'll let you?" The tension spiraled again as the crowd turned towards the voice, uncertainty and fear crashing against the waves of hope Jenna had tried to build. The woman's fierce gaze returned, shooting daggers at Jenna and Lucas. "You've made a mistake thinking these people will have your back." Jenna's heart sank. The fear was creeping back, threatening to drown the burgeoning unity she had fought to create. What next? She wondered, uncertainty gnawing at her resolve. What if they don't trust us? What if this doesn't end well? As the crowd began to stir again, confusion rippling through them, Jenna braced herself for what was about to unfold. Would they retreat into silence, or could they summon the courage to stand together? She needed to know if everyone would leap into the unknown with her or if shadows would draw them back into despair. But the next move lay uncharted, beckoning and fraught with peril, like a chasm to cross. What lay ahead? An answer she desperately needed to find. Jenna felt the air grow heavy like a thick fog wrapping around them. The crowd's whispers turned into a low roar, doubt and frustration swirling. Lucas's grip on her arm tightened, grounding her. She needed to reach out now, to let the others know they were not alone. Listen! Jenna shouted, molding her voice to cut through the confusion. This isn't just about one voice. It's about all of us showing up for each other. She stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. If we cower in the dark, they'll keep us there. But if we stand together, they will see us. They will hear us. Some heads nodded, faces brightening as if struck by a sudden light. But doubt lingered. The woman in black stepped forward, her expression hardening. And what if it's a trap? What if they just want to keep you in line? That fear won't help us. Lucas shouted back, his voice stronger now. Jenna glanced at him, surprised and grateful to see him finding his own footing. We won't know until we try. And if we don't give it a shot, we're already in chains. A ripple of agreement sparked in the crowd, more voices murmuring their support. But just as it began to swell, a larger figure stepped up, overshadowing everyone. It was a man dressed in a crisp suit, his face unreadable. "What is this?" he said, his voice booming. "A bunch of dreamers with no plan? This is why you'll always be overlooked." Gasps tore through the crowd like wildfire. Jenna clenched her fists, refusing to let his dismissive tone extinguish the hope that flickered there. "We have a plan," she replied, stepping into the light. "We're tired of being ignored. We've fought long enough by ourselves. But standing united? That can change everything." The man scoffed, his eyes sweeping over the group. "United or not, it's a delusion. People like you don't change the world. You're just collateral in this struggle." Collapsing under his words would have been easy. Jenna felt that familiar wave of despair, but she buried it behind her anger. "We're not collateral!" she shouted, trying to pull the energy back. "We're the heartbeat of this community. Without us, nothing moves forward. We are not a footnote in someone else's story." The crowd shifted again, excitement taking root, blooming into something tangible. Lucas, emboldened by Jenna's words, found her side. "What do you want us to do?" His voice was louder now, pulling others in. "Do you want us to walk away or stand tall? Are we fighting for ourselves or against things that try to hold us down?" "Yes." The crowd responded in unison, a storm of voices rising together. Each person casting aside the weight of doubt and fear. Jenna felt a spark ignite within her. They were gaining momentum. But then the suit wearer smirked, crossing his arms as if to mock them. "You might think you're powerful together, but I know how to crush a dream before it takes flight." Her breath hitched, uncertainty creeping back in. Could they really push through this? What was next for all of them? She sucked in a sharp breath, fighting against the rising tide of fear that threatened to drown out their unity. It was in this moment, poised between victory and despair, that Jenna caught Lucas's steady gaze. "We're at the edge," he whispered. "Do we jump together?" The crowd waited, collective uncertainty hanging like a thread. Would they risk it all or retreat to safety? The answer echoed in Jenna's heart, but she fought to rally her voice against the noise. Somewhere, in that fragile moment where fear met hope, a decision had to be made. Would they soar or fall? The moment loomed, and Jenna felt the pulse of a revolution just waiting to be unleashed. What would they choose? The moment stretched, the silence thick with tension. Jenna's heart raced as she took a step closer, their eyes collectively fixed on her. "We can't let fear control us," she pleaded, voice steadier now. "We have everything to gain. We owe it to ourselves and to each other to fight for what is right." Lucas nodded, his grip on her arm firm. "We are stronger together. If we can't trust ourselves, who will? We can bring the change that we need." The suit wearer laughed dismissively, but the laughter faltered as the crowd surged with energy. The air crackled with the electricity of belief. Jenna's words hung over them like a banner of hope. "We have neighbors supporting us. Friends at our sides. Fear may whisper in our ears, but when we shout as one, that fear fades away. People were rallying, nodding, fists raising. She could see the woman in black soften, uncertainty flickering across her face. Jenna's heart swelled. She turned quickly, catching Lucas's eye. Together, they were pushing through the darkness that had held them captive for too long. But the man in the crisp suit wasn't he done yet? This is just a fantasy, he boomed, reclaiming attention. What do you think will happen if you try to stand up? They'll squash you like bugs. How many of you are ready to sacrifice everything for this fantasy? A murmur of uncertainty rippled through the crowd, but Jenna refused to let it drown out their newly found courage. I am, a voice called from the back. I'm ready to try. Then another echoed, then another. Soon it was a chorus of voices declaring their commitment. Holding her breath, Jenna stepped back, catching the light streaming through the trees, a symbol of unstoppable change. A few more voices joined in, rising over the din like a tidal wave. We are ready! We will fight! Lucas smiled, eyes shining with pride and determination. Look around you. This isn't just a group. It's a community. A real movement. The crowd surged forward, a powerful sea of bodies fueled by the flame of what they might achieve. But the suit wearer only sneered. Pathetic. You're all barking at a shadow. When it's time to act, when it's time to decide, you'll all scatter like leaves in the wind. Jenna felt anger flare beneath her skin. They were not leaves. They were roots of a flower stubbornly pushing up through cracked concrete, determined to bloom against all odds. Are we going to let fear define us? She called out, her voice booming over the crowd. Are we going to scatter? No! The crowd roared. It was fierce and raw. Jenna could feel it swell, a pulsating mass of hope and determination. She glanced at Lucas, their eyes locking in an understanding deeper than words. The man in the suit stood unswayed, momentarily caught off guard by their fervor. But Jenna knew they needed more than just a burst of energy. This moment had to seal their resolve. If we stand together, they can't ignore us. With newfound courage coursing through her, she took a breath, feeling the adrenaline push her forward. We fight for our voices. For our families. For our future. A future we write together. Lucas added, and the cheer that erupted felt like thunder. As they rallied against the looming darkness of doubt and dismissal, a feeling of triumph started to settle in Jenna's heart. But even as they surged forward, she could sense another wave of challenges on the horizon. What awaited them next? Would their newfound courage be enough against whatever came next? The gravity of the moment weighed heavily, and Jenna's heart raced with the uncertainty of the path ahead. Would they be able to hold on to this unity when the storms really hit? The questions lingered, just as a new presence entered the scene from the shadows, a potential ally or perhaps another obstacle. The air crackled with possibility as the crowd held its breath, ready to face anything together. The figure stepping into view was a woman. She emerged from the shadows with a resolute stride. Leaning against the backdrop of the wooden fence that bordered the gathering, her confident posture drew eyes like a magnet. Clad in a simple yet striking leather jacket, she held an air of defiance that instantly resonated with the crowd. Jenna could almost feel the tension in the air shift, as if a charged current had passed through everyone. Wow, aren't you all adorable? The woman said, her voice smooth yet commanding. You really think that shouting together will change anything? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jenna's stomach twirled with confusion. Who was this person? The suit wearer smirked, encouraged by her words. See? Even she agrees. You're wasting your breath. But the newcomer held her ground, her eyes scanning the crowd, lingering on Jenna and Lucas. I'm not here to judge the effort, she declared, a hint of admiration lacing her tone. But let me make one thing very clear. I know what you're up against. I've seen it firsthand. And you've got a long way to go if you want to make a dent in that kind of power. What do you mean? Jenna called out, her voice piercing the buzzing doubt. If you have answers, then share them. The woman pushed off the fence, stepping into the light, showcasing a face that held stories of hardship and perseverance. My name is Sloane, she announced, her confidence electrifying the group. I've been where you are now. I've fought battles you can't even imagine against the same people you're standing up to. You think they hear you? You think they care? The truth is, they want to keep you scared and divided. Lucas stepped forward. But we're united now. We have each other, and we've found our voices. Sloane chuckled, but there was no malice in her laughter. That's the spirit. But unity isn't enough. You need strategy, and you need agility. They'll all come for you, mark my words. They'll all try to push you back into silence, just like they did to me. Jenna felt a chill creep up her spine. Darkness lingered just beneath the surface of hope, and Sloane's words cast shadows on their newfound light. So, what do we do? Jenna asked, her voice small. How do we fight against fear and power? Sloane's stare locked onto hers, and in that brief moment, an understanding passed between them. You have to be prepared to lose everything, she said, her tone serious. But the moment you decide you're willing to risk something of yourselves? That's when real change starts. Are you ready to face the consequences? Silence enveloped the crowd. Jenna's heart raced. Everything felt suspended in time. Were they truly ready to fight? Would they risk it all? A ripple of murmuring surged through the crowd again, uncertainty clawing back. But Jenna could see the flickers of determination igniting anew, that fire in their spirits reigniting. In that moment, she made a choice. We will stand together. We are ready to give everything for our future. A resounding cheer erupted, but it was different this time. It was charged with something deeper, a blend of fear and courage entwined. They were acknowledging the stakes now, but as the cheers echoed into the air, Sloane leaned forward, intensity etched on her face. No backing down, then? Because once you commit to this path, there's no turning back. Jenna's mind whirled. This was it, this was the moment of truth. If they were stepping into the fray, there would be no safety net below. But the thrill of the challenge, the warmth of community enveloped her. Yet just as their spirits soared, a chilling sound cut through a distant siren, rising like a dark omen. The weight of reality crashed down on them, and Jenna's heart sank. The fight was just beginning. But would they have the strength to face what was coming? A silent agreement passed among them, but uncertainty lingered like thick fog. How would they respond to the storm approaching? Jenna took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. What awaited them beyond those wailing alarm bells? Would they buckle, or stand firm as the chaos unfolded? Around them? Jenna's heart raced as she turned to face the crowd, charged with determination. The distant sirens blared louder now, filling the evening air with a sense of urgency. Fear and excitement danced within her like a raging storm, but she couldn't let them consume her. This moment could either break them or bind them tighter in their shared purpose. Listen up! She shouted, her voice cutting through the rising tension. That siren? It's a warning, yes, but also a call to action. They want us to scatter, just like those shadows that loom over us. But not today. Today, we fight together. A palpable silence washed over the crowd as people exchanged glances, some wary, others emboldened. Lucas stood tall beside her, eyes gleaming with fire. This is our moment. Let us not let fear dictate the course of our lives anymore. His voice rang out, reverberating throughout the gathering, sparking a warmth that climbed through Jenna's veins. Behind her, Sloane nodded, eyes like chips of flint. The fierce woman in black had turned her gaze toward the crowd, and for the first time, uncertainty flickered across her features. This was more than just a group of disgruntled voices. Together, they were weaving a tapestry of hope and resilience. Unease washed over Jenna as she scanned the streets for any sign of authorities. They had been warned. They knew there would be pushback from those in power. But this time was different. They were all cornered by struggles, tethered by a common desire not to return to the dark corners from whence they came. Those sirens mean they're coming, but we won't cower. Jenna continued, feeling courage swell in her chest. We're not just voices, we're a movement. We've come too far to let a little noise send us back into silence. Together. The crowd began to chant, voices united like a choir swelling in harmony. They felt it, the pulse of something large and unyielding. Jenna spotted Claire, standing at the edge, her face a mask of conflict. Somewhere behind that familiar facade lay the remnants of their friendship. The warmth of camaraderie flickered in Jenna's chest, urging her forward. "Claire!" Jenna shouted, her voice ringing through the chorus of voices. "Join us. We were friends once. We believed in something bigger together." The call to her friend encapsulated everything they'd been through, the laughter, the dreams, the moments they shared that had defined their bond. Claire's eyes flickered, the veil of defiance easing ever so slightly. Was it the sirens echoing their dire message, or the bond of years that pulled at her? The crowd felt the shift, energy buzzing as if sparks had flown between them. "We can be more than who we were. We can reclaim our story," Jenna insisted, raising her hand and feeling the fierce weight of vulnerability. "People like us have power, and when we stand tall, we draw strength from one another." A figure stepped forward from the shadows, Marcus, her best friend's former boss. He stood there with confidence, arms crossed, a sly smile curling his lips. "And you think this little protest will change anything? You're just wasting your time," he called out mockingly. But the fire that raged in Jenna's heart wouldn't dim. She faced him head-on, unwavering. "You underestimate how powerful we can be together. You've kept us silent for too long, but we're done playing your game." Gasps rippled through the crowd as the weight of her words sunk in. They could feel the ground beneath them shift. In that moment, they were no longer waiting for someone to save them. They were choosing to fight for themselves. "That power comes from within us," Sloane added, her voice steady and strong. "It's time you all realize that you are the ones in control. If they want to silence that, let them try." The air hung heavy with intensity. They held on to the flickering flame of hope, igniting a reality where their community mattered. Jenna lifted her chin, taking a deep breath, ready to embrace the storm ahead. "They may send those sirens, but together we will break the silence. We will fight because we deserve it." With that, a roar erupted from the crowd, a glorious tidal wave of dissent and empowerment. Their rallying cry echoed through the evening, unfurling like a banner waving bravely atop the highest mountain. As they braced for the impending confrontation, Jenna felt a warmth spread through the crowd. Together, they formed a united front, hearts intertwined in purpose. This was their moment. Her voice rang clear above the tumult. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about every single soul who feels lost and forgotten. We're here to demand our dignity." The cheers resonated through the air, carrying their hopes far and wide. They would rewrite their own narrative, crafting a future they could all hold on to hand in hand, heart to heart. Together they would rise. With urgency and passion burning in her words, Jenna rallied them one last time. "Together, we can stand against any storm." She could see the fierceness returning in Claire's eyes, the nostalgia surfacing amidst the struggle. The night brimming with potential and peril held them all in its grip, but it was nothing compared to the power of community fighting for what they deserved. "Let us make them listen," Jenna yelled, taking her first step forward into the unknown. And with each stride, they forged a path ahead, a testament to the unity and strength they had discovered. The sirens blared in the distance, but their voices would drown it all out. Together, they were unstoppable. This was the turning point, their defining moment. And they were ready to take it on with open hearts and unwavering resolve. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find their voice. Comment below to share your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.